Today we're going to be installing one of our titanium Signature Series systems on the Chevy Colorado with the 2.8 liter Duramax. Now this kit will include everything you need from the pump, fittings, wiring, fuel line, and bracketry to install the system on your truck. More information on this kit can be found on our website at fastride.com. What do you say we get this installation started?
Disconnect the fuel fill tube and the fuel vent tube from the top of the fuel tank. Release the locking tabs, then disconnect the fuel feed line and fuel return line near the front of the fuel tank. With a transmission jack, support the fuel tank, then remove the front and rear fuel tank support straps. Slightly lower the fuel tank and disconnect the electrical harness from the top of the fuel tank module. Now the fuel tank can be safely removed from the truck. Remove the fuel tank from under the truck. Install the two supplied 3/8 quick connect caps onto the inlet and outlet fittings of the fuel filter module as shown. Do not drain the fuel from the fuel filter module. Leaving the fuel in the filter module will trick the ECM into believing the fuel filter module is still functional and will prevent a check engine light. Using the supplied dielectric grease, apply it to the relay pigtail and install the electrical relay. Install the relay protector over the electric relay and be sure the plastic bracket is sticking through the relay protector. Install the supplied fuse into the fuse holder on the FASS harness. Connect the red wire to the positive battery post and the green wire to the negative battery post using the supplied ring terminals. Neatly secure the FASS harness under the hood away from any moving objects using the supplied cable ties. Using a test light, locate a key-on positive fuse. This circuit will be used to power the FASS system on. Remove the selected fuse from the fuse panel and install it into the bottom slot of the ADA circuit. Now place the ADA circuit into the location of the fuse that you just removed from the fuse panel. Install the single red wire from the FASS harness into the butt connector of the ADA circuit. Then using a pair of wire crimpers, crimp the connection. Route the FASS harness along the factory chassis wiring harness to behind the fuel tank, as this is where the FASS system will mount. Install the 10-300 into the E port of the FASS and install the 10-302 into the T port of the FASS. Using the supplied spacers and 1/4-inch bolts, install PBR 2002 onto the FASS system and tighten the 1/4-inch bolts accordingly. Install the TCB 1001 onto the tubular crossmember directly above the rear axle with the supplied Allen bolts. You will want to use the FASS system to locate the TCB 1001 as far over to the driver's side as possible while still allowing plenty of clearance between the FASS system and any brake lines or electrical harness, again, that are along the driver's side. Secure PBR 2002 onto TCB 1001 with the 4 supplied 3/8-inch bolts, flat washers, and rubber isolator RS 2002. Install both FASS filters onto the FASS system and place the truck back on all 4 wheels. Now measure the distance between the axle bump stop and the frame. With the rear suspension fully compressed and on the bump stops, the FASS filter should at least still have an inch of clearance between the bottom of the filters and the top of the axle. Remove all fuel lines and vent tubes from the top of the fuel tank module by releasing the locking tabs. Remove the locking ring and remove the fuel tank module from the fuel tank. Now place the fuel tank module on a suitable, clean work area. Disconnect the two electrical harnesses from the fuel tank module. Carefully remove the fuel level sending unit from the fuel tank module, but this will be reinstalled at a later time. Carefully slice both sections of convoluted tubing and disconnect them from the fuel tank module. Release the locking tabs and remove the fuel pump wire harness. Cut and discard the zip ties shown. Release the 4 locking tabs and separate the upper section and the lower section of the fuel tank module. Release the locking tab and remove the fuel pump suction screen. Cut or release the fuel pump locking tabs and remove the fuel pump. Remove the remaining lower section of the fuel tank module as shown. Reassemble the upper and lower sections of the fuel tank module. Place BHN 1005 onto the shown location and mark a center hole. Using a 7/8 hole saw or step drill bit, drill the previously marked location. Using an appropriate plastic grinder, carefully make enough clearance on the bottom of the fuel tank module for BHN 1005. Install 10-307 into BHF 1005. Install OR212 onto BHF 1005. Install BHF 1005 into the fuel tank module as shown. Place red Loctite under the threads of BHF 1005 and tighten with a pair of pliers. Be sure to tighten enough for proper OR212 compression, but do not over tighten. Measure from the bottom of the fuel tank to the O-ring sealing surface and record your measurement. Compress the fuel tank module to the recorded measurement and measure the proper length to cut ST1005P. Install ST1005P onto BHF 1005 with hose clamp HC 1001. Please note that ST1005P must be a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch from the bottom of the fuel tank module when the module is compressed to the recorded measurement. Install both sections of FL1006 onto each plastic barb fitting on the fuel tank module with hose clamps HC 4001s. Trim each FL1006 to the same length as ST1005P. Reinstall the fuel level sending unit and gently secure all the wires and fuel lines together with a supplied cable tie. Carefully reinstall the fuel tank module into the fuel tank with the locking ring. Reconnect all of the factory fuel lines and vent tubes. Using grease, install a PL 1058 into FL 1058. Install PL 1058 onto 10307 and carefully tighten. Be sure to support both fittings to prevent damage to the fuel tank module. Install a PL 2003 into FL 1002 using grease. And connect the PL 2003 to the E port of the FASS system. Route FL 1002 to the factory engine feed near the fuel filter module. Trim FL 1002 to length and install PLB 1238 into FL 1002. Connect PLB 1238 to the engine feed connection in front of the fuel filter module. Install the remaining PL 2003 into the remaining section of FL 1002. Connect PL 2003 to the R port of the FASS and route FL 1002 toward the fuel filter module. Connect the FASS harness to the FASS system. Neatly secure all of the fuel lines and wire harness along the top of the frame with the supplied cable ties as shown. Lift the fuel tank back into the truck while routing FL 1058 over the tubular crossmember. Reconnect the electrical connector, reinstall the fuel tank support straps, reinstall the fuel fill tube and fuel vent tube. Connect FL 1002 to the OEM fuel suction line with PLB 1238. Be sure to use grease when pressing PLB 1238 into FL 1002. Install PL 1058 onto 10302 and tighten accordingly. Trim FL 1058 to length as necessary and install onto PL 1058 using grease. Place the filter nipple O-ring onto the suction side of the FASS system and place both filters onto the FASS while putting a thin layer of grease on each filter O-ring. Be sure to follow along with our fuel filter priming video that can be found on YouTube.
If you guys have any questions on your FASS installation or pump selection, please don't hesitate to give our technical service department a call. They'll be happy to help.